Welcome to the Franchise Masters podcast, where aspiring entrepreneurs learn what it takes to find, buy, and build successful franchise businesses. My name is Drew Carpenito, and I'm your host as we dive into these fascinating behind-the-scenes stories of people who have used surprising franchises to create massive success. I'm glad you're here. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Franchise Masters podcast. Today, I am joined by Jay Palmer, who is a multi-unit franchisee with Floyd's 99 Barbershop. Jay has 14 locations with a number others in development. Jay, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Drew. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were just chatting before we went live here, and Jay and I are we're kindred spirits, and that we like to make our own T-shirts, and that's our work attire. So if you ever see us in person, probably wearing a self-made T-shirt. But Jay, so you've been with Floyd's for a while, right? You got in when did you get in with Floyd's?
I would say 2007 is when we really got going. I believe December 11th, 2007 was the first store. I always mix up that in 2008 just because it's so close. But basically, within that first year, we went from one store to, I think, four.
In 1 year?
Yes, we did Boulder. We had Harmony, Fort Collins, and then Longmont. And then we bought the Austin, Texas market on Halloween of 2008.
Wow. All right. We got to talk about that. But I was just, when you mentioned 2007, so you've been through two massive things that happened in the world with the Great Recession back in 08, 09, and the pandemic.
Yes.
You might be the only franchisee I've talked to that's gone through both of those. Holy moly. What was it like during the Great Recession in the business as you're getting ramped up?
It was interesting. That first year in 2008, I think we opened up our Longmont store November, I think like right before Thanksgiving. We're going through construction with that store, and it was really difficult. Banks were collapsing, the housing market crashed, and we had an SBA loan which was tied to my parents' house, and they went bankrupt. And so we ended up losing the loan after we had already put in our 40%. So we had half of the store built with no money. And that was pretty stressful. That was our first year even being in business. And we had to go private and find some very nice investors. And we did. And it was a crunch, but we were able to get it done. And it worked out. In a number of years, we were able to pay them off, and everyone walked away happy. But it was stressful,
no doubt.
We also purchased the Austin market on Halloween of that same year, and we definitely we bit off a lot more than we were prepared for, and it was a learning experience. We managed to hold all of them and grow all of them and build a great business. So it was stressful, but it was at the same time, it was a lot of fun. It felt like the Wild West. You're just you're just
figuring it out, right?
Exactly. Problems come up and you solve each one of them one at a time.
Yeah. It's like, first year, I can't imagine that gut punch. I think it's like, what is it? The Mike Tyson saying, it's like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, and it's, how do you respond?
It changes everything. Yeah. And, my parents, they're in the residential development business outside of New York City. And so they got hit incredibly hard. All of those bankers coming out of Wall Street, they were no longer moving out of New York. And, that area in Connecticut, there's thousands of homes on the market, all in the same price range. And I think every one of those builders went out of business. It was tough.
Yeah, I don't mean to be kind of just getting into this with you, but you've obviously persevered through two massive things that have happened in our world and economy, and obviously built a very successful business and persevered through it. I can imagine the pandemic was different in a lot of ways, and its own thing. But like as you think back through those two big events, like were there some things that stuck out to you as like big lessons learned, or things that you had learned prior that just kind of helped you push through this?
I think one of the things that's helped me be successful is really focusing on our staff and making sure take care of the staff is the most important part of what we're doing, because once they're happy, that trickles down to our customers, and the customers hopefully will receive the same treatment. The pandemic we're still dealing with right now, even though it's, people kind of forget about it. In our business, it's, we are struggling every day to staff the stores. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of people left the industry just because of, the proximity that you're in with your clients. and whatever family issues they have, whatever relatives they have that were sick or have, underlying conditions, they left. They went to some other business, stay at home, and they haven't come back. And so we're really struggling to find staff. We're doing great. We could be doing so much better if we had the employees. So
Yeah.
that's our struggle right now, and that's what we're trying to do. It's getting better every day. I know the schools are flush, and hopefully we'll start seeing more people come our way. We also don't hire out of school, so that's another issue.
Right.
We want to see people come out of school. We want to see them take some time, get behind the chair, build sort of the dialogue that they want to have when they're talking to their clients. We want to see them be comfortable with the shears and not shake, and nobody wants a stylist who's shaking. You don't want to lose an ear or something. So it's important that these people have a little bit of history behind them. So
yeah, no doubt. Because I didn't jump right in it. Can you talk us through a little bit about what Floyd's is and
Sure.
the essence of it and how it's different than a lot of the other traditional?
I mean, it is. Let me go back to even the beginning. I didn't know what Floyd's was. I was training for Ironman in 2006, and I was on a training ride, on a bike ride from Lyons, Colorado to Boulder. And then I passed a gentleman on a bike, and then he passes me, and we start jockeying back and forth. Next thing you know, for the next 30 miles, we were just chatting away. I was talking about how I was with Noodles and Company, which is a great Boulder-based company that I was with for almost 7 years, and I was part of the franchise development team. My children's mother is a hairstylist, and we owned a salon. And so, as we're discussing all of these things over 30 miles, he starts talking about Floyd's and how he and a couple of his friends are trying to franchise it. And I had brought up that I was trying to franchise Noodles, and one thing led to another, and we sit down the next day to go through the FDD. And I love the concept. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Floyd's is a rock and roll barbershop. It is a unique experience. You walk in the door, the walls are just plastered with music posters, stainless steel countertops, hardwood floor, loud music. It's an experience. When you walk in, you're at Floyd's, where, let's say you walk into a Sports Clips or Supercuts, Great Clips, you might not know which one you just walked into.
Yeah.
They're all sort of, they serve a purpose, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but you just don't, they all sort of have the same feel and vibe. And so I love that about Floyd's. In my mind, instantly I'm thinking, Floyd's presents Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Boulder Reds, something crazy.
Yeah.
And I love the idea. And so we took it a step further. They invited me the next week to go meet the founders at their Colorado corporate headquarters. And when I went down there, the woman in charge of Floyd's franchising was a woman who also worked at Noodles and Company, who I worked closely with. And we just hit it off. The brothers and I, there's 3 founders, and I seemed to have all the right questions. And again, I hit it off with them. I was only 31 at the time. And after the meeting, I realized that the gentleman that brought me in didn't have any experience, didn't really have any capital. And I decided to reach out to Dana, who was the woman in charge of franchising for Floyd's, and offered if I could do it on my own. And they said, sure. And so
I love it.
I kind of snuck my weasel my way in there, but and then from there, Floyd's took a risk on me. I was young, and we obviously had some growing pains, but I'm one of their oldest franchisees, one of their largest, and we have an incredible relationship. And I'm thankful for them every day, and I hope that they're thankful for me. And it's really been fun.
Oh, that's a great story. So which number of franchise owner were you in the system?
So the Dallas market was first. Those guys have actually sold, and the new Dallas owners are wonderful people, and they're big. I think they have 27 or 28 stores. They're Dallas, Houston. I think they're in Oklahoma City as well. But I am number 2 behind the first group that sold. So currently I'm the oldest, and I think second largest with 14 units.
Nice. Because Floyd's is interesting because they're also operating a lot of their locations as well. Like there's 120, 130 locations, something like that total.
Yeah,
and
somewhere around there, 100, maybe 140. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I think they had 80 of them. So they're
in the game. in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which is,
That's one of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, no, I was just, to me, it's like one of these unique little data points about Floyd's as an organization and a franchise company, because a lot of what I see in the emerging franchise world is you see the franchise companies kind of phasing out of operating, 2 or 3 corporate locations, may it be, and then focusing on franchising the rest. But Floyd's
Yeah.
has kind of done it almost the opposite way in a way. And
They have. I think over the years, I think they've battled within themselves to decide if they wanted to continue franchising or if they want to do all corporate owned. And, I don't want to, now they are focusing on a lot of franchise growth. They're still always focusing on their corporate stores. One thing that I really like about Floyd's, and being from a franchise world, I've always truly believed the nice thing about franchise companies is that the franchisor has already made all the mistakes. They've already screwed up, and they've always, they figured out the best practices, and that's what they deliver to you. And so, you can be confident that what you're going to get is at the current moment the best that they've found. And so it's you have to trust the process, and so far it's worked out pretty well.
yeah, and I could imagine that you, even within the Floyd's organization, being a franchise owner, because Floyd's is operating so many locations, there's an added benefit to them just being side by side and operating, throughout multiple states across the country, and kind of real time from the trenches perspective, which sometimes as a franchise company gets bigger, right? They kind of phase out of that from the trenches pulse and feedback. I think
It's honestly, it's a lot of fun because right now, even when they have something new, or let's say a new POS, or the operating program, they will test it out with one of the franchisees. So they'll have a couple stores from the franchisees use it. They'll have some of the corporate stores use it. And then you have weekly meetings and they talk about what works, what doesn't work, what we can fix. I mean, it's really kind of fun because, we get to work together and build it together and see what works best for everyone. It's neat. It's a fun process.
So I got to ask you, because I was poking around, I pulled Floyd's FDD up, and I can't talk too many numbers on this thing, but it looks like Floyd's, like their AUVs, like their average unit volume per their stores, are like more than double what the average of Sport Clips, of Supercuts, of Great Clips maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you attribute that to?
It's I have actually a friend who owns quite a few of those Great Clips. And yeah, we're almost triple what they do per store. I think obviously the price point's a little bit higher. We really want to make sure we're in a different class from them, just because we know what our product is. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about what they offer. They hold a place, and it's important for the economy and where we're at. We just happen to be that next level, So I think the price point helps. Again, I think it's the atmosphere. I think it's just the whole product that we deliver, our Floyd signature services. You walk in the door and it's just a different vibe. It's fun. You want to be there. Kids want to be there. Adults want to be there. It's cool.
Yeah. And it's, it has barbershop in its name, but it's a barbershop for everyone, right? It's kind of
we do full
mission.
color. Full color. We even do waxing, head up. We do color, we do men's coloring, we do everything. I would say, women's business, it varies from store to store. I mean, every market's slightly different. It could be, 30-40% of our business.
Yeah. So you're able to tap into, in some markets, the female crowd probably a lot better. I mean, obviously much more than Sport Clips, because they exclude that segment of the population.
Sports Clips is Sports Clips. I mean, you might get some women in there, but guys go in there because there's sports on the TV, and they've got a uniform, and they all look like referees. I think I haven't been in one, so
yeah, that's what it is. I have a buddy that owns 15 of them here in Charlotte, and he's never cut anybody's hair, doesn't have a background in it, just good ops guy and takes care of his people. He was so giddy the other week because he tracks his applicants, the applicants for stylists coming in, and he's starting to see it tick back up. And I was like, hey, like so let's say you open a bunch more chairs, you have more stylists, you have to increase your advertising in order to meet the new capacity you have with more stylists. And he's like, nope, I just open more chairs and I'm making more money. I just need more stylists. And it's a fascinating business model.
I'm telling you right now, I have 11 stores in Colorado. I could probably hire 45 to 50 stylists and barbers, and it would we have the business for it. We just simply don't have the stylists
Yeah.
and the technical employees, and so it's it's frustrating, but I know we're going to get there. And the pandemic. This is the extended COVID part of it. It just lingers, and so we're gonna we'll get through it, but it's tough.
Yeah, no doubt. So you have a big presence in Colorado, 11 stores, and then you're in Kentucky and Austin. So what was that jump like to
So the
to
Austin market, I no longer have. We had a
that's right.
business transaction. My uncles actually now run it. They own it, and I think they're building their fifth store, maybe fifth and sixth store here in the next probably a couple of months. But those guys have been operating it since I think 2013 or 14. So they've had it. But I for a number of years I bought the one store and then built three more.
Okay.
Or two more, three more.
So what was that like as an operator to go from having the stores probably within drivable distance in Colorado in your backyard to being many states away?
I would plan on going every other week or every 2 weeks or so. Sometimes I go every week, depending on what my needs were. But sort of as far as scaling goes, once I had the stores in Colorado, I had three in that first year. I was able to hire kind of an area manager. So that way, when I was gone, I had someone in the area who could still drive around stores, take care of business while I'm in Austin. And then as I was kind of growing that market, I was able to bring someone who I was very familiar with from Colorado. She moved down there and she was kind of the area manager.
Okay.
She was more of a shop manager at first. And then as that scaled out, she became the area manager. That was kind of how we scaled. As soon as we had enough stores, then we were able to bring someone in to manage those. And the same thing we've done with Lexington. We ended up buying the market, which had one store. And then we just built two stores between December and March of the last couple of months.
Oh wow!
And once we did that, we were able to hire an area manager that we brought out to Colorado, and we spent almost 2 weeks with him out here training, working in the shops, seeing how we run things here. And then he went back to Lexington, and he's now doing a great job out there as we're building that market. It's it's a new market for Floyd's, and so we're spending quite a bit of money on advertising. We have a booth at all the home football games for University of Kentucky. Yeah. We are on TV, we're on radio, we are doing all sorts of local marketing. So it's hard work. It's a grind, but we're seeing growth every week after week. It's a positive number. It's not fast, which is I'd love it to be quicker, but we're getting there. And as we are growing, we're going to build another probably 2 stores in Lexington, and then I think we're going to do 6 in Louisville.
Wow. Okay, so you're going to have 5 or 6 in Lexington, and then 5 or 6 in Louisville too, huh? Nice. How did you pick Lexington, Kentucky from your third market?
It picked me. Okay. I was, I won't get into deep detail, but I was actually playing a practice round for our local. There was a member guest tournament. It's a 3-day tournament here in Boulder, and the director of franchising called me and said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for you. The franchisee in Lexington wants outs. It's a long story. The gentleman, he's a real estate developer, very successful, really, really a great guy. His business operating partner left to follow her dream in marketing. And he all of a sudden was left with this one store and a development agreement for 29 more between Louisville, Lexington, and Nashville.
Oh, wow.
But he's a real estate guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to operate a barbershop. And so he wanted out, and Floyd's came to me just because I had worked and operated in multiple states, and I knew how to do it. And I made an offer. I took over the store and negotiated a 10-store development deal on top of the one store, so 11 stores total. And that's kind of how it happened. And
yeah, so it was an acquisition opportunity inside the system.
Yeah, and we're looking at some other markets. My daughter goes to College of Charleston, so I'm looking to do a deal in that area. I think Charleston's a great city. Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
James, just sort of that area is a 4 or 5 store market. I think it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we're always looking for opportunity. Things are interesting right now in construction, so we're taking our time. We don't even we don't need to rush it because things are delayed everywhere. Things, it's post COVID and it's different than what it was. So
Yeah, more expensive, everything. You've said people a lot. And it sounds like you've done a great job of leveraging your core base of stores in the Colorado market to then help train other leadership folks in your organization that are, in Kentucky or used to be in Austin. What are I've always like the people piece of things, especially really in any kind of service-based business, right? Like that tends to be what can separate the really good performers from the average performers, I think, in any franchise system, right? Is like the franchise owners that can just do the people piece really, really well. Are there any things like if this is the prospective franchisee that's listening, or a new franchisee that's kind of getting their sea legs in their business and building their team, are there things that you have found that you look for in, or like how you assess prospective hires at different levels in your organization, or tips or tricks that you've used during the hiring process or recruiting process to find good people and develop them?
a lot of my VP of operations who basically runs my shops on a day-to-day basis. She was my first hire, and she was a hairstylist, and then she went from that to a barber. She managed one store, and then a couple stores, and then then basically two markets. It's a lot of hands-on work, really. You can, there's one, you want to find people that are empathetic and caring, that are like-minded as yourself. And I think, our success is really about how we treat our people. And so those are sort of questions you want to talk about. And as you're going through the training process, when you are putting them in place, just keeping an eye on what they're doing, addressing it, and help point them in the right direction. I think almost anyone can grow and be the person they want to be. You just have to be hands-on and sort of help them get to that place. I think there's some great books out there that you can read. Most of it's hands-on. I mean, you treat people the way that you want to be treated, and if you see some traits that aren't quite like that, you want to let them go before too long.
Yeah.
You don't want to invest the time in someone only to find out that they're just not going to be the right person. And so, obviously asking the right questions up front, making sure that you are like-minded and you work well together is a good start. I don't know. It's an interesting industry. I love it, and I've been a part of it since 2000. I mean, it's over 20 years, and there's a lot of good people. You just want to find the right people and make sure they're a good fit for you.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm sitting here, just us getting to know each other for 35 minutes, but it seems like you set the tone at the top. Like you've mentioned people throughout this whole conversation, and even before we were talking, the culture, right? Like it starts at the top with the culture and the values and how you want your team of people and your company to obviously be reflected to the customers, but you got to establish it and set the tone. And if you expect it from your employees, then obviously you need to show it to them too. And then at some point, as you get bigger and bigger, it just becomes contagious, right? And
yeah, I mean, we go out of our way to help our employees. And, I know Floyd's corporate is big, with 80 plus stores. It gets harder to do the small things when you kind of get bigger and bigger, and they do a great job with their employees. But for me, as I've grown, it's been really nice because I can do, cash advances for people. We've got some employees that have had some really interesting situations where we'll help them out. And all of these things do come with contracts. So it's, depending on how we help them, we'll be like, okay, here's the deal. You don't have to pay us back, but sign this. You have to stay with us for 4 years. And if not, we'll figure out that later. But, and so it's really been nice because we can do things. We've had people who needed help with an apartment because they had to, take care of their children and put them in a safe place. So we'll help with security deposits. We'll help first month, last month's rent, that sort of thing. So it's been fun, and I think the staff sees that, and so they know that we're willing to go to bat for them, and they do the same for us.
Yeah, it's those little things that can have such a meaningful impact on the people that that are working for you, that might be at a different phase of life or whatever.
Just yesterday we had payroll. Payrolls this comes on Friday, and we have an employee who I guess the car's in in the shop and needed money. So we were able to cut the check yesterday and drive it up to them up in Fort Collins. And I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but to them that meant the world. So
To them it is, yeah. For sure. I mean, and I think a lot of times, with folks from all different walks of life, like they might not have a lot of people in their life that are willing to do that for them, right? To help them go out of the way. It might be a minor thing in the grand scheme of the company or whatever, but to them it's meaningful. And I was talking to somebody the other week and they were just talking about how, and this is the stuff you don't learn in textbooks, or maybe they're in some books, but you learn through experience a lot of times. And he ran a senior care franchise, and he said, if I track this, I'm sure it was a meaningful stat in relation to like how long their caregivers would stay with them. And he was like, if their car broke down, I'd go pick them up and take them to the job. And, during that 15-minute car ride, we have a chance to get to know each other better, just one-on-one. And those caregivers stuck with me longer than folks that I didn't have the opportunity to do that with. And, you don't learn that, right? Like, you don't learn that when franchise training probably, but it's just kind of going back to your point, like just doing the right thing a lot of time with a longer vision, knowing that you need to build a team of people and whatnot can go a long way to building that team that's going to stick with you.
100%. And it's served us really well. We've I think all of my managers, I think most of them are maybe 8-9 years. I mean, we've had a long time. It's really nice.
So what are the grand plans for your company and your operation?
I mean, we're just gonna keep plugging along. We just built 4 stores between December and March. 2 in Colorado, 2 in Kentucky. We have another couple leases in Lexington that we are working on right now. We have a development agreement with Floyd's, and I think the goal was 10 stores in 5 years or 3 years. I'm not sure we're going to make that just because of the current environment out there in the construction world. But we'll be pretty close. We have the 2 stores that we just opened, so we're letting those mature just a little bit before we jump in and do probably 2 more here in the next 12 months. But our overall, if we finish up with our current development agreement, we'll be at 23 stores. If I can somehow figure out Charleston, then there'll be another 4. We're just gonna keep going. As we've scaled to the size that we're at, we have, I have a nice sort of a corporate office with a controller, assistant controller. I've got a VP of operations. We've got 3 area managers, store managers. So we've worked hard to build the infrastructure. And I think from here, we can just keep going. And I don't see that there's really a limit. Part of the benefit to franchising, I don't need a marketing department. We are looking right now for sort of an HR person to help me, but we've managed with 250 employees so far. We've never had any issues whatsoever. And like I said earlier, our goal is we just treat people properly, and that's really paid off for us. But we're in a position to keep growing, and there's no limit really. So we'll see. I think our only limit is what Floyd's will let us do.
So do you mind if I ask like probably a personal question, and you can tell me to F off if you're not comfortable sharing this on the podcast, but like from a capitalization, like capitalizing your growth, funding your growth, have you pursued the private investor angle or traditional?
We started sort of private just because with the housing market collapse in 2008, I think 3 or 4 of our stores were private funded. And, since then we've been able to pay them back entirely. We generally now just go bank. I prefer not to have any investors or partners for that matter. Yeah. And so, a lot of everything we do is SBA, and it's a process. It is not ideal because it takes a lot of man hours just to close the deal. We just closed our last one for 4 stores. I think it was 1.6 million. And, the SBA is a great group. I think what they do is amazing for small business, but it's a process. It is, there are hoops that you have to jump through. And sometimes you feel like you're jumping through the same hoop over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Every week. It's like Groundhog Day, but, you get through the process, and it's worked out really well for us. We also found a small bank, that only has 4 branches that does all the administration for us. And that's, I think, the secret for us, because they're easy to work with. We work directly with the president. We go and show him our new lease. We show him sort of the demographics of the area, our projections for 5 years, and he takes it to committee, and then we get approval in 4 days. So it's pretty cool.
So you've gone the small regional, you
Yeah.
found a good small regional bank that,
Yep,
that
exactly.
got to know you guys, and that's interesting. How did you find them? Any
Well,
words of wisdom for folks that are?
we do a lot of small marketing deals. Avery and Left Hand Brewing Company are all sort of in our backyard, and so they'll do all these crazy events. Hops and Left Hand does this crazy snowboarding event in March where they set up a huge ramp. Hops and Rails, I think is what it's called, and basically they truck in all of this fake snow, and they have basically a giant beer garden with all of these different booths. And Floyd's would always have a booth, and High Plains Bank would always have a booth, generally right next to each other. And so through all these different events, that's how we ended up meeting these guys. And they loved what we did, and they could see that we were, always part of the community, like-minded, and that's how we met.
Brilliant. That's awesome. You're able to find a partner that can help get to know your company, and even though they've got to dot all their I's and cross all their T's with the SBA stuff. But
again, the SBA it's a process. Sometimes it's not fun, but it really does serve a great purpose for small businesses, and it worked well for us, and still does.
So what does your role look like on a week-to-week basis? Are you focused on like the real estate piece of things, trying to stay out front, or is your VP of ops involved in that?
Yeah, the development side of things right now is really what I spend a lot of time with. I do send out morning emails every morning. People think I'm crazy. I get up about 3 a.m. Most days, and I'll work for a couple hours. I track the sales from the night before. I track sort of the rock stars who are retail. Anyone who sells more than 20% in a single day, I'll give them a shout out in that morning email. I talk about sort of our Floyd's signature services. I'll have a daily quote. I try to help people. I talk about setting goals for the week. Every Monday, I'm like, did you set your goals? On Friday, I'll ask people, how are you doing? I'll let people know they can come to me if they need help with goals. So there's always a morning email that goes out. My shop's printed out, put it at the front desk. So when people clock in, they read it. So that's one of the things I do.
Every day you send out a morning email.
I mean, on weekends I might pass.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I might not send it out, but it's generally 5 or 6 days a week.
Wow. I've never heard of that before.
It's a way for me to stay in touch. I mean, again, with COVID, things changed a little bit. So I wasn't able to visit all the stores as much as I'd like. But I have done this since day one. So it's not new, but it helps me stay in touch. It helps me deliver my message. It helps my managers understand where I'm at and what I expect from them. Yeah. So it's a nice piece.
Oh, I'd imagine that. I mean, and the power of recognition. It sounds like, if you identify somebody that's doing something great, you call them out, and in front of 250 employees, they get recognized. They get their names in the lights.
I hope they all read it. I'm pretty sure they don't, but that's the goal. And whether it's just the retail, we'll do shout outs if people get a good review on Google. I'm not particularly a huge fan of Yelp, so I don't really pay attention to them, but I think all the other, Google is amazing. Floyd's uses a company called Listen 360, which is really pretty cool. They send out text messages to, I think, maybe 5 or 10% of their clients right after service. It's a really quick survey. I'm not a survey guy. I don't like surveys, but it's like 3 questions. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. And they can leave a comment if they want, but that's also been very helpful for us. And so I'll post some of those comments too. Because, just one, you want to keep people accountable, but you also want to give them praise, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, for 20 years you've been sending out a daily email to your team. I love it. But it does send the message that you're engaged, where you might not be visible to all 250 of your employees all the time, but you're there, engaged in the business, and they know they can reach out to you if they ever have anything too, right? It kind of makes you a little more accessible to
my managers love it when I send emails at 4 a.m. They're thrilled, but I'm available all the time. I try to answer real quick. I am very patient. Well, one of the things I like to do is if someone asks me for a meeting on Monday and it's Friday, I'll be like, why don't you just tell me what's going on right now? I mean, I know you want to do it face to face. More likely than not, it's because they want to cash advance or something. And I understand they want to be professional about it, but I'd rather just take care of things. That's kind of what I do. I like to fix things, get it taken care of right away, so it's not on my shoulders and there's something I'm thinking about. Especially on my morning hike, that's generally what I do. I think about my day and I think about how I'm going to handle situations, how I'm going to have discussions with maybe an employee that I have to deal with. I'll walk through 3 different scenarios, the best to the worst, and kind of have answers to all of those in my mind before I go into the meeting. And that's that's one of the reasons why I get up early. That's why I'm prepared.
Yeah. So you get up early and then you send the email and then you go for a hike.
Yeah,
That's your routine.
my routine.
So what do you do for the rest of the day?
I will answer emails for quite a while, and then I don't know, 1 o'clock I go play golf. Or I'll go paddleboarding, or I haven't done a triathlon since 19, but I might get on my bike here and there. So there's, I like to spend the afternoon on myself. The nice part of this business, I can be anywhere and still answer my phone, send emails, send a text. So it's
that's cool.
pretty
Well, there's
cool.
some good golf down in Charleston if you decide to
I-
make the move.
I've been down there a few times to play golf. It's a great area. It's hot. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Welcome to the humidity of the Carolinas.
I was there a couple of weeks ago. I think the index was 113 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. With like 95% humidity or something like that too, right?
It was awful, but it was, it's a great city. And I mean, Charlotte's beautiful as well. My daughter lived there too.
Yeah. Charleston's a lot cooler than Charlotte though. It's got the character. It's got like the history and the character and all that stuff. But
I'll let you say that. I'll stay out of that. But,
I grew up outside of Philly. I'm a diluted Yankee living down here in the South for 17 years, but no, it's been good. It's been a good place to raise a family. So
it's good.
So yeah, man. Well, Jay, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on and opening up and sharing a little bit more about your story and the success that you're having. And I have no doubt that I do have a question. You mentioned, do you grow in twos? It seems like you kept talking about like opening 2 shops at once kind of thing, or is there any just kind of how it lands, or?
It's kind of how, I mean, since I think 2018. Yeah, I think we've generally been doing 2 stores a year. This year we did 4. It's a nice way to scale. If you're already going to build 1, you build 2. When you're ordering for the store, you just order double. It's a nice way to do it. It's kind of the way it happens. Right now real estate is great. The prices aren't amazing, but the options are out there. There's just a lot of availability. And so, when we find an A location, we kind of jump on it. And that's, even if we're not prepared capital wise, we'll still work through it and
Figure it out
a way to make it happen.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I'll let you get on to
Awesome.
thank you for letting me talk to you in your part of your morning routine. So Jay, appreciate it, man.
You bet, Drew. Have a great day. Bye.
That's a wrap. Hope you found a nugget or 2 in there that can help you on your franchise journey. And if you ever want to talk franchising, reach out to me anytime.